Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week, I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. I'm the host of the Studio Chat podcast. It's so lovely to have you here. And if it's your first time, welcome. And if you are a veteran, listen to my podcast. It's really nice to have you back. Today, I have Angela Barrett, a love coach and qualified psychotherapist. And the reason why I have her on here today is I discovered her in social media, and there was a line that really resonated with me. Obviously, if you know me, you know that I have been single for nearly 5 years and very happily single. But I wanted to, in the month of February, talk about love. It's something that I haven't spoken about on my podcast. And there was a line there that said, helping single people find happy, healthy love. And I really loved the sound of that. So welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm so excited to be here and really grateful that you found me and that you want to talk about love in February or any time.
I just got goosebumps when you said love. I went, ooh.
Yeah.
So before we start, there was something that I mentioned here, that you're a love coach and a qualified psychotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what is a psychotherapist?
Literally, it's a healer for the soul. So I think the term originally means healing for the soul. So it's similar to psychology, designed to improve people's well-being and mental health, and is a soulful kind of therapy.
Which we need so much of that right now. Can you please share with my listeners a bit about who Ange is, where you're based and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. I was a journalist for 30 years, so always interested in people and in understanding people and even in that kind of helping people understand themselves as well. From that, I then studied psychotherapy and then discovered that coaching, relationship coaching, and specifically love coaching was the place where I really wanted to focus. So I became a love coach. I do that from my home, which is it's in the Central Coast of New South Wales, which is north of Sydney. And I am married with 2 teenage daughters, and I'm just passionate about connection. I'm passionate about love, about people, about communicating and helping people have love and healthy relationships. So I have a firm belief that no matter who we are, no matter how damaged we think we are, or flawed, which a lot of people who have had bad experiences in love sort of come to a conclusion that something's wrong with me, or I'm flawed, or it's never going to happen, or I'm too old, or too this or too that. But I'm of the firm belief that we all are deserving of love, and that it's very much about kind of removing our barriers to love, that we all become magnetic to love and can have the love that we desire.
It's so beautiful. And I think we're built for connection. We're built for love. I think that's one of the joys in life is love. And even if someone is listening to this and they're married or have been for a long time, I think this podcast is for anyone. But it's not just for single people, this episode with you. I think it's about love in general. So why do you do what you do? Like, I know that you're interested in people, but it's what got you into, like, really what you do now is helping people find love? Was there a moment in time that something happened that you were like, you met a certain someone, or you were just like, I want to help people find love?
Yeah, it was it was brewing for a lot of years. But yeah, lots of certain moments that you're talking about happened. One of the most formative things was the first relationship I had for 2 years, my first love. I realize now was a narcissist, and it was an incredibly painful experience of love. I endured a lot of pain, and like anyone who's been in a relationship where somebody has cheated on them would understand that it was incredibly painful. And for years after that, I was sort of licking my wounds, but not really recovering, but sort of going into more relationships with people who didn't value me. And then I, through my own suffering, started to see a psychotherapist, a beautiful woman who she just changed my life so much. And we did a whole lot of work, which ultimately helped me become a healthier version of myself relationally, so that then I was able to meet a really lovely man, my husband. We've been together for like nearly 23 years. He really loves me. He values me. We adore each other. And so it's through the years of feeling, like I call it, unhappily single. A lot of the time I was happily single and having fun as a single woman, but a lot of the time too, particularly when I was getting towards my 30s and in my early 30s, I was unhappily single and in real pain of being single, but I didn't know what to do about that.
Yeah, that's kind of a common thing. And it's interesting when you mention that age, because as a female, when you get to a certain age, people in society think that there's possibly something wrong with you. Like, you can see it in people's eyes. It's got to the point sometimes where I'm at the supermarket and I put something on I don't fight it now, but I don't know, it might be some muesli bars I buy or some kind of fruit, and especially in the school holidays, the checkout lady said, "Oh gosh, school holidays, are you buying all the treats for the kids?" And I went, yeah. There used to be once upon a time where I used to be like, "Oh no, I don't have children, or I don't have a husband." Now I have fun with it. I just laugh, and people assume things, but also there's a flip side. Like, I'm 43 this year, and there's a thing where it's just like, you're single, or I've been married, or like there's a label that kind of, no one talks about it, but there's something that people are like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" Or you have to have someone. And I'm the happiest I've ever been, and it will happen when it happens. But I really believe it. I had to work on the relationship with myself. And as you mentioned before, I think when you have a relationship with yourself, and it's a real, true, unconditional, loving relationship, that will flow outwards, and then you'll attract the right person. Where before I was always telling myself down because I make people feel very uncomfortable. It's just something that I kind of, my magnetic presence it makes people feel uncomfortable. So I'd always keep myself small and always be worried about like people pleasing, looking after other people. And I think that reflected, and it was like, I would never put myself first. It was always that other person in the relationship. And I had a type. I was so good. Like, if there was a Hallmark greeting card for someone that can attract narcissists and psychopaths in their life, Barbara Thompson would have a gold plaque. Like, I had a really good knack. Yeah. I was very good at it.
Yes. And I love now that you're in that place now where you're the happiest that you've been, and you've obviously done a lot of beautiful inner work. I can hear in what you're saying. It's, self-nourishing, self-nurturing, coming home to you, which is exactly what's required. And in doing that, then you become somebody who's not a good match for a narcissist. The more you value yourself in a really deep, honoring and authentic way, the less of a match you become for a narcissist.
Yeah, it's interesting too, if anyone is single out there. I never had a list of, people talk about boxes and lists, but from my point of view of what I've been through, I need to have really strong boundaries now. I need to have really strong non-negotiables. And I tell you what, I've got an A5 double-sided page full of exactly what I want, and I will not settle for any less. Where before I would just float around and just be like, "Oh, they're a nice person," and kind of put it back onto myself that I'm too selfish if I want someone that has their own business or is successful or is a family man or, heaven forbid, is loyal or loves me. So, like, you know what I mean? It would just be, I had no boundaries, or I knew what I wanted, but I wouldn't allow myself to have it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you've just sort of spoken about there is the power of intention, and how if we don't have an intention, we can be looking for love, looking for someone.
Yeah.
It's like, could be anyone. Or it's like going to Central Station and going, oh, okay, I'm at Central Station. I'm going to go on a trip. Where do I want to go? I don't know. I'll just get on a train and go somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I've done this work and I will continue to do it because I will not allow that to happen again. And my last relationship was very, very dangerous and my life was in danger. So I will never let that happen again. It's interesting though, when I have clients come and see me who in my counseling studio who would like to have love, on reflection, it's the first thing I ask them, well, what do you want? And 9 times out of 10, they look at me like a blank face and go, oh, I don't know. It wasn't just me. I think maybe there's other people out there that don't allow themselves to dream, don't allow themselves to be like, no, this is actually what I want.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it comes from a young place of just feeling, and those messages that are about, love will happen when it happens, and, you know, it'll just happen if it's right, it'll happen. But and to a certain extent, I kind of go, yes, but you also need to do the preparation and you need to be intentional about it, because if you're not intentional about it and if you don't know what your non-negotiables are, then people can slip through the cracks easily.
And they can really, gosh, if it happened to me, I'm very strong, very smart, won't put up with shit. And it's so interesting when you're in a, air quotes, loving relationship. The strongest woman will put up with the most shittiest stuff.
Yeah.
So do you think, honestly, and I know this is what you do, if someone's been hurt by love, do you really believe that they can love again?
Yes, I do. Because I see it all over the place. I see it all around me. In fact, almost everybody who's not a high percentage of people who are in a loving relationship would have been hurt in love in the past. Because, you know, often it's pretty rare that somebody meets and falls in love and lives happily ever after with their first love. So most of us, we might get to 25, 35, 45, 55 and have got sort of a few, rungs on the ladder, a few experiences of love where we've been really hurt. And then it becomes a choice. We can either shut the door and go, the only way for me to feel sane and safe and at peace is if I never let anybody in again. Or we can go, all right, I need to find a way to open that door, because like you said at the start, human connection is such a part of our well-being and our life satisfaction and fulfillment.
And pleasure and joy and all the good things in life. It's so interesting because looking back at my relationships, the longest relationship I've had is 8 years. And that was with my ex-husband. I met him when I was 24. And we got married when I was 30, and then we lasted for a year. Writing was on the wall within the first year, but I really loved him. But I thought that marriage, I don't know, might get a little bit better. And something might change. And then after the year, I quickly realized that, marriage isn't forever. And that was such a hard thing for me I didn't get married to get divorced because my parents are. There's no way. But there's also a thing where I thought it would just last forever. Like, yes, relationships are hard. Yes, you go up and down, but giving up is just not the option. But I actually had no option. But I want anyone out there listening that is possibly in the same boat as me, and you that it's okay, that it was the best thing I had to do for myself. But there is that, if you are, like, when you get married, you kind of think, oh, it's forever. But I know of so many people out there that are in relationships 15, 20 years plus. And there's some people that are really lost and stuck too. So I just want to say, I see them as well. And I understand relationships are hard. Life is hard, but it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, because if people are wedded to a belief like that marriage is forever, if you stay wedded to that belief and you're undergoing, abuse of some kind, tolerating bad treatment, and you're inside of that belief that marriage is forever, you will try and tolerate it because we're supposed to stay together. It's supposed to be forever. We said it was going to be forever.
Yeah.
But what you've done is chosen you. Like, it's choosing you, because if through all of your efforts your partner is not, through all of your efforts, if there's not a mutual reciprocal love and respect and honoring, if through all of your efforts that's not happening, I think you need to choose yourself.
There was a form of love there, but it wasn't healthy love.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to recognize, that in your gut. Like on my wedding night, I remember going, well, this sucks. Like when everyone left, and that's just the honest thing. I think I've said it on a podcast before, and I'm really honest. And I'm here to help people, and I'm here to just make these things a conversation. Like there's no shame. But I remember everyone had left the wedding, and I just sat there and was just like, oh, is that it? Crap.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm a crier. So there's a lot of signs in the day. I was ready way too early. Again, not a Barbara thing. I'm never early, I'm getting better with my time management, but like getting ready for the biggest day, you're supposed to be late. I was early. And then I just remember I didn't cry. And I was like, that's a little bit weird. And then just afterwards, everyone left. I was like, uh-oh. I instantly knew. I was like, wow, oopsie. What do I do here? So, in your gut, and I want people but it's a process. You've got to, everyone is on a different timeline. It's a different process. And it took me a year to have the courage to be like, I was just hitting my head against a brick wall, and I was like, I can't actually do this anymore. I'm dead inside. Like I literally was dead inside for a really long time. And I just couldn't do it. There were other reasons why I didn't want to have children with this man. He had a very violent temper and had anger issues. There's so many other things, but I was just like, no. And it's very brave to walk away. It's very hard, but
it is.
The other thing I want to talk to you about is breakups. God, they're a bugger. They are a bitch. If anyone's going through one now, it feels like it's going to go on forever and it's never going to end. And I know there's been, I don't know about you, Ange, but there's definitely been about 2 times in my life where I've been in a breakup where I've just been like, how am I going to get over this person? Like I actually cannot see it. So if people find themselves fresh out of a breakup, what are things that they can be doing?
I'm a very holistic person, so I think with a whole lot of things, with health, the health issues, relational health issues, I think it's good to be holistic. So what I'll sort of say are a number of different things to do. But the first thing to do would be, before we were talking about intentionality, would be to have an intention to use this to become the best version of myself. So to use what I'm going through to become the best version of myself, whatever that might look like. So that becomes like a guiding principle for you. Then it's really important to make sure that you have good support around you, be that a friend, a sibling, It could be a coach, a therapist, a psychologist, a counsellor. So having good support. If you're a person who, where you are, you find it difficult to articulate a lot of things. So for a lot of people, the thought of going to a counsellor or a psychologist or a coach is like, oh no, I couldn't talk to anyone, and they can feel really private about what they're going through, private in their pain, and I completely understand that. So another way that I like to talk about it to people is that you can do like an energy healing therapy, and there are a number of different things you can do to help your body almost dispel and or process a whole lot of the massive emotional pain and feelings that you're having, that can help you process it without you having to talk a lot. And, down the track, you might be in a place where you can actually, open your throat and actually say what's going on for you. But until then, something like Reiki, an energy healer, even an acupuncturist, they're different types of approaches that can help just diffuse or let the pressure cooker off the valve, so that all of those feelings that are building up and feeling unbearable become more containable, because you've let the pressure valve off a little bit. So all of this kind of comes under a banner of like, how can I be supportive to me through this? How could I be my own best friend through this? What do I need during this time? So other things would be things like journaling. A lot of my clients recently have been talking about how much they're getting out of journaling. They might never have journaled in their life, but they just like write down, might wake up every morning and just get it all out on paper. And that also has a purpose, again, of relieving some of the build-up, because, often we can be feeling so much, plus there's a whole lot of thoughts that'll wake us up in the night too, and stewing and just going over and over things, which isn't going to really help matters, like all of the thinking that we do about things. But journaling is another way of getting some of that out and relieving some of that pressure. And then my other favourite one is nature, just being in nature, whatever that is for you, whether it's a beach walk, a bush walk, taking your shoes off and walking on the grass to really ground you, lying on the lawn, out on the back lawn of a night and looking up at the stars or the moon or the clouds, going outside when it's raining, letting the rain fall down on you. And the other thing too is music, which is, it's like another form of nature. It's like letting something natural come in, like, that's been made by another human, some beautiful music that kind of can help move your emotion or just inspire you or calm you.
What I love about everything that you've shared, in my times of breakup, I tend to focus on the other person a lot. So it was very interesting that everything that you've shared is like using that time to who do I want to be? What do I want to become? How am I feeling? How can I help myself? Rather than thinking, who are they with? Are they with the other girl or guy now? They look like that they're getting on with things. They're not even hurting. What are they doing? I don't know. All those kind of things that I find, I think it was personally for me, but I think for other people too, I see it with my clients too, is the pain and the grief of the loss, especially when you're not the one that's broken it off. The longing to be with someone is what we focus on, which makes it 10 times. It's hard anyway, but it really hurts. It's almost like digging into you've got to graze and you're making the graze worse, rather than like, it's such a beautiful way that you explained it, because I'm on the other side now, and that would be the first thing I would do, is focus on me. But I didn't know that for 20 so years. I know, and because not for everyone, but for my type of relationships were not healthy, obviously that was 10 times more. They manufacture someone else. They've always got someone else. I was always cheated on, all that type of stuff, which makes you focus on all of that noise rather than bring it into like, who's the important one here? Him or me? Me. So thank you for sharing that, because it's just such a beautiful way of people, again, knowing that, hey, it's about you, not about the other person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, that's really where the healing starts, where you kind of adjust your focus off that other person and back onto you.
It's so hard to do when you've spent years, or you've got children, or you don't see it coming, or you do see it coming, whatever. No breakup is an easy thing. It's called a breakup for a reason. So I think the more that we can talk about it, and the more that I want people to know that if they are currently in one and they are looking everyone up on social media, seeing if they're happy, trying to message them, to try and focus on yourself more.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the more you do that too, and you top up your own tank, you are demonstrating to yourself that I am worthy and I am deserving and I'm more than good enough.
Yeah.
And then when you get really grounded in that knowledge, then you cease to become as interested in people who are not really interested in you.
Interested in people. Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah. So the more you value yourself, I am worthy. I am good enough, and I always have been. I just didn't know it. I'm intelligent, and I'm really deserving of a beautiful, honouring relationship. Then when someone comes into your orbit and they're a bit like, yeah, Barb, yeah, she's okay. I like her today. I don't like her tomorrow. I like you again. I don't like you. You'll be so grounded in your value that you go, that's boring.
Yeah.
Boring. So it's like you develop a bit of an immunity to people who are not available and who can't really be present for you in the way that you want them to be.
And it's interesting because I don't know. I've been single for 5 years, but maybe there's been a couple of guys that I've kind of dated a little bit. And there was one in particular where I know previously, before me really healing and working out my behaviors and patterns and why I did things, there was a guy that was putting minimal effort in, and I was like, oh, piss off. Like, it was literally, I was just like, ooh, like, I don't have time for you, where I know, especially when I was younger, I will show him how worthy I am, or maybe I'll change his mind. Or it's like, Barbara, leave the drop kicks alone. Let someone else have them. You can't. I'm not a fixer. I know there's some people that like to fix people. I'm not that. It was more like just trying to prove my worth.
Yeah.
It came from my childhood, just trying to prove that, hey, I'm here. Can you see me? I am good enough. And that's where that came from. And it was just interesting that this particular thing, at the time I was happy for it to be casual, but I kind of wanted there were certain things. I was like, okay, if it's going to be this X, Y, Z, and he wasn't coming to the party with X, Y, Z. And then I was just like, I laughed and was like, piss off. And then I was like, well done. Doesn't mean I'm going to get it right every time, but I was like, that was a really big thing for me, because I knew before I would have been like, oh, it's okay. Like, I can change him. Or I know when he gets to know me, and it sounds really sad, I know when he gets to know me, he'll see how amazing I am.
Yes. And that I hear you, and that used to be me as well. And it was like the thrill of the chase. So it's almost like the more charismatic and elusive the guy, the more I was excited and like, in almost achieving that goal.
Yes.
And
winning the trophy.
Yeah, winning the trophy. Yeah.
Ladies, these guys weren't trophies, let me tell you.
Yeah.
They were gum on the bottom of my shoe, or or I could say pieces of poo that you stand in with your bare feet and it squishes between your toes. Like, basically, that was the level of love that I was attracting. But interesting. Now, we briefly had a discussion yesterday, and I know that you do a bit of work with your clients doing this, and I had never heard of it before, and I'm sure there's people on my podcast that have heard it. But I'd love for us to have a chat about conscious uncoupling. What is it, and what do you do with your clients when you do this stuff?
Okay. Well, conscious uncoupling, it's a 5-step process that helps people as they are ending a relationship. Sometimes it's a couple that does it, but in more likelihood, it's an individual who comes to me to go through the process of consciously uncoupling or detaching from somebody they've broken up with so that they can move forward without bitterness and resentment. It's particularly beneficial where there are children involved, because if you have children with somebody, whatever the quality of that human being, you are really forever linked with them. So conscious uncoupling helps you, whether you do have children or not, helps you come to completion with that relationship in part by looking at your part in the relationship. So often when we're trying to heal from a relationship breakup, we can talk about it, about how how the other person did the wrong thing by us. Often there'll be somebody who has a story about the person that cheated on me, and he did this and he did that, which is, perfectly true. But for an individual, we need to get to the place of going, like with you, like you said before, you've been in relationships with the people that were like a piece of poo under your foot. Like, how did beautiful, intelligent Barb end up to be in the path of and in a relationship and in a bed with somebody like that? What do I need to see about myself, about how that happened to me? Because it wasn't just random.
No, and the choices I made, because I made those choices. We make those choices.
We make choices, and for some people, it's like, especially when somebody has clearly done the wrong thing and been a terrible partner and lied and cheated and all of those sorts of things, it's really easy to ascribe all of the responsibilities to that person. That often the other partner in a thing like that might have been passive. So sometimes our part is passive. It's like tolerating and dismissing our feelings and not speaking up. So these are all really important things for us to see, so that we can go on and create something different, so that we identify, well, what were the different parts in it that I need to take responsibility for, because I never want to end up in that sort of situation again. And conscious uncoupling might sound familiar to some of the listeners because it's what Gwyneth Paltrow and her husband Chris Martin did. So they're the ones who popularised the term, because they used that term to describe what they were doing when they broke up, because they had children and they wanted to be able to maintain. Doesn't even have to be a friendship, but a respectful relationship, so that they could co-parent their children well. And so what they did is based on a book and the teachings of a psychotherapist, an American psychotherapist called Catherine Woodward Thomas. She wrote the Conscious Uncoupling book, and she's my teacher and mentor. So
didn't you interview her for a story or something?
I did.
Yeah.
I was writing for, so I worked in women's health magazines, and I was writing for Good Health magazine, and they said, can you read the manuscript of this book, Conscious Uncoupling, and interview the author? And I went, yes, okay. So I looked at I kind of recognised the term conscious uncoupling. I thought, oh, that's that thing Gwyneth did. Like, she couldn't just break up, could she?
I thought, oh, it sounds so adult-like. Sometimes when you break up with someone, it's so good just to yell at them and really say what you think of them,
Yeah. So I along with a number of people, kind of poo-pooed it. But then when I read the manuscript of the book, I went, oh my gosh, that is the most incredible thing to help people move forward after a breakup, so that their children are not forever scarred by their parents' bad behavior during a breakup. Like, that just touches my heart, because I've seen that in my family, where children, and it brings a tear to my eye, where children are harmed by how their parents react going through a breakup. And I just thought, if I can have a part in helping individuals influence the way a breakup goes, and their children are better off and not scarred, then that I want to be part of that.
And that's so beautiful. And I think too, with children, is they're so pawned, that especially in controlling relationships or people that want to get back at people. Like, can you do something else? Like, they're little people. They're so intelligent. They know exactly what's going on, and like, I can't speak for, I'm not a mother or anything, but I can, like, I know I was a kid once. We were all children once.
Yeah.
Even though we may not remember those formative years, we are like a sponge. Everything we see, we hear, it builds our values and beliefs. So in any form of separation, like, my parents separated when I was 20. I'm the oldest kid, so I was involved, and it was horrible. It's never a nice thing to have to go through. But that conscious uncoupling sounds such a beautiful, I laugh a little bit because it sounds very, very formal and very grown up. But I tell you what, when you've got little people involved, or kids of any age, it affects us. And I think to see someone like you, what a beautiful way of protecting your children, so they don't have to come and see me or you when they get older. Like, they can live balanced. Sure, we all go through things, but imagine being that parent that shows your child, hey, this isn't right for me. I'm going to remove myself from the situation, and this is how it's done.
Yes, that's right. And not unwittingly inflict your pain and the pain of the situation onto your children.
Like, I think it's important for a child to see that when you're hurting and explain to them. Like, that's what I find people shelter their children a lot. It's like, show them your emotions, explain to them what's happening and why you're doing what you're doing. Because a lot of the time kids will be like, oh, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Or the other way is they'll play the parents against each other. Very smart. But again, that's a mechanism because they're hurting. And so I think it's such a great way of managing it when there's children involved.
Yeah. And people it's amazing how, like, the process that Catherine, my teacher, has designed, that's in the book and that we go through in the coaching, I do it over 8 sessions. And it can be quite striking the different place somebody is in after 8 sessions. Like, they'll typically come in like quite scorned and hurt and heartbroken, sometimes bitter. But at the end of the process, because of how she's structured it, it's a very structured process we go through. The end result can sometimes be very striking in terms of the person, their perspective on things, their view on things, when they kind of, when they've been really honest with themselves and become self-responsible and go, oh yeah, I can see my part in that now. So I'm not 100% blaming the other person. Now I see that it's almost like a chemical reaction that went a bit wrong. 2 chemicals that were put together, both brought in some elements that weren't quite right. The reaction between us wasn't so good, and we both played a part in that. And that's, knowing that and being able to see that is what helps a person be able to, oh, okay, I can see that now, and find some peace within themselves and let go of some of the bitterness and resentment and anger so that they can move forward with a more peaceful heart.
Geez, I'm glad I know about that now, so I can let people know about it and that you do it. And it's good for anyone listening. We all, most of us know people, neighbors, work colleagues, friends, family that may possibly be going through a breakup. And sometimes it's behind closed doors and people really don't know about a breakup until 6 months later. So if someone's struggling with that, this is a great podcast for them to listen to, but also to get in contact with you, Ange, and to find out more about the conscious uncoupling.
Absolutely, because it's really crucial, because like you said, alluded to somebody at work then, because going through a breakup, as you described earlier, it's so hard and it's such a painful thing that it can upset your whole life. Like, it can throw you off your game professionally. It can upset everything in your life if you don't get the support that you need.
How can it not? But I see a lot of the time that people block it. So when they're going through something really tough like this, and really private people, I totally understand that. You don't want anyone to know. You keep smiling, you keep going. But unfortunately, what happens is when you push it down, it may be tomorrow, it may be 10 years, it's going to come up somewhere. We don't know what's going to come up, but I want people to know that it's just as hard hiding it. It's just as hard hiding it from people as it is talking about it, or doing the other modalities that you've said, as in Reiki, or sitting outside, or whatever, someone seeing a coach, or whatever. I think they're both difficult. But again, you need to listen to your gut and what feels right for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe one of the things, as you just mentioned, a lot of people block it. And I think one of the things that makes people block it is feeling like a failure and feeling embarrassed, humiliated. They don't want people to know. But that can kind of block our ability to kind of progress and move forward.
And also what comes to mind is there's a big fear, especially, like I said, like women my age or in their 30s, there's a big fear of being single. It's awesome. I'm a little bit worried that when I meet someone, I'm going to be like, cool, can I see you like once a week? Because I kind of got my own thing. I know it's not going to happen that way, but I'm so happy doing my own thing. I think, how are they going to fit into my life? But I guess it just happens when it happens.
Yeah. And for you, it'll be about consciously making space. Like, if you decide, actually, I do want somebody, note to self will be, Barb, you need to make space for that person. You need to make space in your heart, in your home, and in your diary for that person if you want someone in your life.
That's right. And if it's important to you, you make time, right? Yeah. So I'm sure when that time comes, I'll be like, sure, my diary's open. It's awesome. So you work with clients one-on-one and you do programs, and one of them's called Calling in the One. So I'm presuming this is for single people and I know my girlfriends are listening to this. No, I'm not going. My girlfriend's like, Barbara, this is you. You need to do this. You need to do this. So what is your program, Calling in the One? Can you tell us a little bit about how this works? Yes.
So Calling in the One is, again, it's a structured program. It's also based on a book. So I do coaching in tandem with somebody going through the readings and practices in the book, which is by the same author, by my same teacher. She's just, such a wonderful gift to the world of relationships. I take in everything that she does. And so Calling in the One is about firstly calling in yourself. So it's not just about getting someone. It's about some of the things, that we've mentioned today. It's about deciding, well, what do I want? Like, what do I want in a relationship? What are the qualities that I want in a partner? What's the dream? Like, what do I want to be doing with my partner? I may never have had this experience in my life, but it might be traveling, or it might just be living in a little shack in the bush with a dog, and getting up, making each other coffee, and sitting on the deck, and whatever it is, we get people to kind of to dream. Like, what is it that you want? What are the qualities of the relationship that you want? And then the important thing is, who would I need to be to have that? What do I need to release? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to update within myself? What do I need to attend to internally so that I become the woman or man that is capable of having that relationship?
Mm. Yeah. It sounds really good. It just sounds like you're making a plan. Like anything, you build a house, you have a plan. You
Mm.
have a business, you have a plan. Like, why do we not have a plan to attract love in our life? Is it just
Mm.
because we kind of follow what we see around us as to
Mm.
how to find a partner?
Mm. Yeah, I think we don't have it modeled for us about how to go about it. People don't know how to go about it. People mostly what people know these days is to go on the dating apps, which I see your face, and
Yeah.
that's the face that a lot of my clients have when they talk about dating apps because they don't want to do it. But I say, okay, so then we need to work out other ways. If you want to meet your partner organically,
Yeah.
we need to make you being exposed to a lot more people, but we need to get you in the right place first and then get you out there so that you're actually interfacing with more people, so it increases the likelihood of you meeting people. Because although the dating apps have a bad reputation and they're are terrible experiences and people to be had on dating apps, used well, they can be really, really good. And as one of my clients said, I used to wonder where all the nice guys were. She said, they're on the dating apps. So it's like you have to be putting yourself forward in a certain way to attract the right sort of person, and then know how to filter the results that you get.
No. I jumped on. I think it was just the universe. I'm a big believer in that now, but it was just at the time, I don't know, maybe it was a couple of years ago, I jumped on and I paid for a certain type of subscription on a couple of different sites. I thought, oh, you pay, you'll get a better, I don't know, caliber of people or people that are serious. So I jump on, and I kid you not, I was on there for about 5 to 8 minutes. I don't want this to sound shallow or anything, but I'm just going to give you the hard, hot facts of how I went. So I went on it and I started looking, and I was just laughing, going, are you freaking kidding me? Guys had missing teeth, were like literally, it was just something out of a movie. I was just like, it was just at that time, it was just laughable. I don't want this to sound horrible but I think people know me well enough now on this podcast to know I'm not like that. But it was just the universe taking the piss out of me, like, Barbs, this is just, I knew in my gut it's not for me. It's absolutely, I know some people that have met people on it and are happily married, awesome. But with my history, and then when I went on after I've done my work, and I just was like, like if I wanted a bit of fun or whatever, I'm not interested in that. Never have been, never will be, just not my jam. But going on, it was just like, oh, all my alarm bells are going off. And I was just, and then when I did decide to really give it a good hot crack, what was being presented to me, I was laughing, going, oh, all right, okay, I get it. It's not for me. No worries. But that's what I mean. You can't do, in life, I'm a big believer in don't do what everyone else is doing. You've got to do what's right for you. So just because I have a funny story with that and it makes me cringe and want to gag at that, but it's just because it's not for me. But I tell you what, the next person across from me will try it and it works for them. And that's so great.
Yes.
Because we're all different.
Yes.
And that's okay. It's just funny. It was just so presented to me in a way that I was just like, you are taking the piss.
Yes. Which helped you get really clear. It's just not.
Oh, it was very clear. And it wasn't coming from a horrible place. It was just like, I know exactly what I want. And it just happened to be the first few times I was just like, oh, surely, come on, just someone that is half decent and has something, good values and good beliefs and isn't, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to explain, but that was my experience. So yeah.
Not for everyone.
No, and that's okay. So as we wrap up today, I'd love to ask you, is there one piece of advice or a golden nugget that you like to share with people, or you want anyone to know today, really, who's listening to this?
That I just would love people to know that whatever your experience of relationships in the past, isn't necessarily going to be your relationship, your experience of relationships in the future. So no matter what's happened in the past, you're not a lost cause. I've certainly thought in the past I was a lost cause at times in love, but I don't believe in lost causes. And it's there's always something that you can do to do the inner work, to do the work on yourself. If you want love, I say go for it. Find a way.
It's nice to know that it exists. It's really nice to know that it is out there and people do have it, because I'm always a little bit, it's okay if it never happens. Like, I'm at that point where I'm really open and realistic, and if it never happens, I'm okay. But also I know it may. Like, I'm not being closed off. It's just the reality is I'm very open to whatever will happen.
Yeah. And I like where you're at, because when you get to that place and where you kind of go, I'm actually, I might like it, or even for some people who go, yeah, I would like a relationship, but I know I'm okay without it. That's gold to be in that place, because if somebody looks for a relationship from that place of I know I'm fine without one, then there's not the desperation or the panic that can make us make bad choices. So it's the best place to choose from is where you go, I would like a relationship, or I'm okay if I don't, but I know I'm okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting. It's been such a lovely chat today. Just to kind of, I know we could talk a little bit more, but just kind of touch on this love and that it does exist and you can have healthy love. And so I'd love my listeners to know, like, where can they find you if they want to get in touch?
Thank you. I am on Instagram at Love and Life Coach. My website is relationshipinsight.com.au, or if you Google Love Coach Angela Barrett, I'll come up as well.
Yeah, that's so nice. Thank you, Ange, for coming on today and having a chat. It's been really nice.
Thank you, Barb. I've loved it. It's been a really rich conversation, and I love thank you for sharing all of your personal experiences, which really brings the conversation to life.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. It's all good. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbaraThompson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you. And I'll catch you soon. Bye!